Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. Well, today we got a host of topics, and I just gotta explain to you guys why I was away for a little bit. Last week, I just took some time off to enjoy the summer. I have a couple of reviews coming up on the channel. I have a really good e-bike that I will be reviewing. As well, I got an S95B Samsung QLED, actually, I should say, a QD OLED television. I've been wanting to get this in my house and get my fingers into it, and I got a review coming up on that as well. And I also got a Segway G2 Max, and a review is also going to be coming up on the channel for that. So look forward to that. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when those videos go up. Now, today we're going to talk about some Xbox news. We're going to talk about Starfield marketing and if it's good enough. We're also going to talk about Microsoft losing the console war and potentially losing cloud gaming. Now, first, I want to start off with Starfield. Now, I've been complaining for the last maybe 2 weeks or so that we haven't been seeing any type of Starfield marketing. Well, it has officially started. Now, the first one that we saw was a advert for it on Samsung televisions, touting that you don't need a console to play Starfield. And I think that's going to tie into our story a little bit later on today, but I gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed in this. I think that the first advert for your game should be something about the story, something about the gameplay, something to get gamers really invested in the game. Yes, it's pretty cool that you can play this on a Samsung television without a console, but at the same time, I don't think this should be the first commercial that you're pushing out. But it is an advert, and here I am talking about it, and I know other people are talking about it, so I guess it does kind of work. Now, I know some people are going to be really upset about this, especially the purists. They don't really like cloud gaming. They like the console, and of course, the console wars. So some gamers are just not excited for cloud gaming. Now, if you guys were watching the whole ABK merger thing and all the court proceedings, Microsoft stated that cloud gaming is very niche, that they don't make money from it, that they actually lose money, and that most gamers are not using the service. So this is a good way to get people into the service, so I understand why they are doing it. I just don't think it should have been the first advert for this game. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and if you guys have a different opinion, let me know in the comment section down below. But I do think it is cool that you can play Starfield on any Samsung TV that has this feature enabled. Now, speaking about advertisements for Starfield, the Microsoft stores now have Starfield banners from wall to wall, and I gotta say, it looks pretty good. Now, I want to see some of this, out in other places that aren't the Microsoft stores, such as, bus shelters, buses, and trains. They really need to ramp up the advertisement for this game. Now, right now, I hear a lot of people talking about Baldur's Gate 3 when people should be talking about Starfield. So you really need to get the adverts out there so people are talking about your game. Now, when Starfield releases on the Xbox, we're also going to get a major Game Pass downgrade. You will no longer be offered a 1-month trial of the service. It has been reduced to 14 days. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not mad at this. Microsoft has offered it for $1. You've been able to stack deals onto it. You've been able to create different accounts and try it for a month. So of course they need to make money off of this service. I think that most people now have tried Game Pass. They've tried the cloud aspect of it, and they know that it works pretty well. So they have a great idea of what the service is. So when a game comes out that is going to launch on PC or the Xbox or in the cloud, people know what to expect with that service. So from a business standpoint, I understand why they're doing this. Now, some gamers might be upset about this, but 14 days is still a pretty long time to try out all the games that are in this Game Pass service. Now, this is coming from GameBible.com. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, the article goes on to say, previously, the $1 Game Pass trial for new users would last a month. Let's put that into perspective. New users get access to games like GTA 5, The Cave, Bramble, and so many other good titles for an entire month. Now, I don't know why they didn't mention Halo or Forza. There's a ton of titles that are in there. These games are not that big to me, to be honest with you. You have a whole catalog of games that you can try. If you have the Game Pass Ultimate version, you get EA games in there. It's a really good service. He goes on to say it's been an amazing ride, and one many of us will look back on fondly after the news that the new user trial will now only last 14 days. We know that 2 weeks of gaming for such a small fee is a first world problem, but let's consider how difficult it is to play all these incredible games in such a short window of time. A month isn't enough, so 14 days feels almost insulting. No, buy the service. That's the whole point of it. People were abusing it. You can get 30 days of service. You can clear a lot of games for $1. This is going to be forcing users to join the service. You have 14 days, which I feel is enough. So I don't know. I might be in the minority of this, but I think that the deals were on for so many years. And Microsoft needs to make money on this service. We're going to have great catalog of games in here when the ABK deal is finalized. But hey, maybe I'm crazy. If you guys have different opinions on this, if you think Microsoft should be offering this for 30 days, 3-4 years into the service, let me know in the comment section down below. Now, this next article, I know some of you guys are going to be up in arms, and we're going to have a big discussion about this in the comment section. Now, this is coming from windowscentral.com. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, this is coming from Jez Corden, and he's saying that the PlayStation has won the console war, and will Xbox let them win cloud gaming too? He goes on to say that PlayStation is leapfrogging Xbox on cloud gaming, and how did we get to this point? Now, on this week's RDX podcast, I was getting into this. I was going to discuss my opinions on why Sony is offering 4K streaming, and unfortunately, I didn't get to finish my thoughts. So I'll finish it off here, and I gotta say, honestly, I think 4K streaming is fine, but I just don't think that Sony should be concentrating on that at the moment. I think they should be concentrating on 1440p, because let's just be honest with you, most of their games are native 1440p, and I think that bandwidth is going to allow more users to enjoy the service. I think 4K streaming is great if you have the hardware, if you have the bandwidth, but a lot of people don't have the bandwidth, and they're going to use that service, and they're going to automatically think that cloud gaming is bad. And I haven't tried it, so hopefully the latency isn't bad on 4K, but I'm going to assume that a lot of people are going to have some issues with it. That's why I feel they should have concentrated on 1440p. Now, Microsoft, they're doing 1080p cloud gaming, and I just don't think that's enough. They were at 720p for a long time, then they bumped it up to 1080p. I really do feel that they need to be at 1440p as well, and get it running really good with the lowest latency that you can achieve. I think cloud gaming has a place. I just think right now a lot of people are turned off by it because you get a lot of latency issues still. Sometimes the image breaks up, and these are things that kind of take you out of the experience. So it needs to be a seamless experience on the cloud. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a lot better than it used to be. And most of the time it runs well, but when it doesn't run well, man, it really takes you out of the experience, and you just wish that you had this natively in front of you on a console. It's just the truth of it. Now let's get into his article. Now he goes on to saying that during the Funny Kind of XCast interview before the Xbox E3 event in June, Microsoft gaming CEO and Xbox lead Phil Spencer conceded the division couldn't out-console Sony. Sony's lead is the so-called high-end console market has extended to 2-1 according to most reports, and could conceivably extend further still to 3-1 in the coming years based on current trends. Indeed, Microsoft's Xbox hardware output was down 13% year over year in its quarterly earnings, although services like Xbox Game Pass and the expansion to PC gaming have helped keep Xbox in a growth overall. Now, I gotta say, the hardware sales are down, and I gotta say that comes down to software, because the software is what pushes the hardware, and Microsoft just really hasn't had a lot of big titles, and they don't have a lot of titles that people were looking forward to. Now, we have Starfield coming up, and I hope that they ramp up the advertising on that. We have Forza coming up as well. But also you have on the PlayStation side, you have Spider-Man, like I talked earlier, you have Baldur's Gate. There's other games that are coming out around that time too that are also going to be available on the competition. So you really have to shine. Now, I think that Forza is going to be a fantastic looking game. Starfield, I expect it to be an excellent game, but we just don't know. This is a debut for this franchise, so it could be bad. Let's just be honest. I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be a great game. I think the scale of the game is something that's never been done before, but we don't know until it comes out. And I think that the advertising really needs to be ramped up on this game to get gamers talking about Starfield. Now, I'm not saying gamers are not talking about Starfield. They are talking about it, but they're also talking about Baldur's Gate. And I think with Starfield being so close to release, everybody should be really focusing on this game. Gamers should have most of their attention geared toward this game. Now, I hope that it comes out in a great shape. I hope it reviews good because all of this will definitely help. And it being also on Game Pass is going to help. Microsoft has revamped Game Pass. The trial period is no longer 30 days, it's 14 days. And you are not clearing Starfield in 14 days. And people are going to try the service and hopefully they'll stay on to complete Starfield and, of course, sign up for a year, 6 months, whatever. So basically, I think this is going to be a very interesting fall season. We're going to see how this game performs. We're going to see how it boosts Game Pass numbers. We're going to see if it boosts xCloud numbers as well. Now, he goes on to say that he wrote an article a little while ago noting that Xbox focused on its huge Activision Blizzard acquisition, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and PC. The Xbox console experience is suffering. Development on the Xbox console dashboard has slowed to a snail's pace, and many fan-requested improvements have simply not been implemented. Although we've seen a trickle of new features of things like Discord and the like, meanwhile, Sony is plowing ahead with a much-expected 2024 redesign of its PS5 ahead of the more powerful PlayStation 5 Pro for 2024 or 2025 from what I've heard. Now, I've talked about this and some people are telling me, no, the PlayStation 5 Pro is not happening. The PlayStation 5 Pro is happening. It is coming out next year. Now, Microsoft is not going to have an answer for the PlayStation 5 Pro in 2024. I spoke about this in a previous video. They will answer in 2025. If we look at the previous generation, that's what happened with the PlayStation 5 Pro. It came out a year later, the Xbox One X came out, and I expect the same thing again this generation. And I know people are referring to Phil saying that this is the mid-generation refresh, the Series X, or that there is nothing in the works. Things change, and when your competitor is changing the playing field, you have to react. And I think giving the time space that the PlayStation 5 Pro was developed in, apparently it took 2 years, so I would assume it would take Microsoft 2 years, and we could have a next generation Xbox Series, I don't know, I call it Xbox Series Next, in 2025. Also this year, Sony is releasing a PlayStation 5 Slim. Now, we don't really know what the design looks like, but hopefully it looks a lot better than the current PlayStation 5, and I do expect it to cool a lot better. So this is obviously going to help PlayStation 5 sales, and then they're going to reduce the price on their PlayStation 5s, the current ones. So I really do expect a lot of PlayStation 5s to be coming off the shelves this season. In fact, in certain regions, they have lowered the PlayStation 5 by $100. So Microsoft really needs to respond to that. Now, I see in some markets that they have lowered the price for the Xbox Series S, and I don't want to get into all of that. You guys know how I feel about the Xbox Series S, but the Xbox Series X, I think they should maybe react to Sony and lower the price. Now, I don't know the margins that they're making on that, so that's not a call for me to make, but just logically, you would think that Xbox would respond by lowering the price of their consoles. Now, they also have some games coming out. So they have Forza coming out, they have Starfield coming out. Now, if they advertise these games properly, this will also help sales for their consoles. Now, he goes on to say with PlayStation's victory in this generation all but assured already, perhaps Microsoft could find wins elsewhere, right? Microsoft is a cloud-first company with Azure making up the bulk of its envious profit margins in recent years. Stands to reason the firm would be an industry leader in cloud gaming, right? Well, lately it feels like Microsoft is ready to concede cloud gaming to PlayStation as well, on top of the home console gaming. Now, what he's getting to here is that Sony is offering 4K for their streaming. And Microsoft is only offering 1080p. They don't have anything higher than that. They don't even have 1440p. And I think his concern is that Microsoft is going to get outshined by Sony. And I agree, this is a valid concern. But Microsoft can address this, first of all, by releasing great software. I told you earlier that these are in Samsung's televisions. So you don't need the console to play these games. So Starfield, I expect that game to be really popular. There's a lot of people that own Samsung TVs. So Microsoft just needs to get the marketing done right. They also need to improve their service. They need to offer more than 1080p streaming. In my personal opinion, I think 1440p is the sweet spot for streaming right now. 4K, I just don't think a lot of people have the bandwidth for it, and I think it's a waste of resources right now. I know GeForce Now has it. You know, it plays well. I've tried it, but at times you still have issues with it. It's not a perfect, seamless experience. And I don't think cloud will ever be that. You're always going to have physical media. You're always going to have a physical console. There will always be a version of the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox One in my opinion, at least for the next 15 years, in a physical hardware form. The cloud is the future, but it's just not right now. So I think Microsoft really does need to invest more into this market. I think they need to advertise it more. I think they need to improve the service more, and I think they'll be fine. I think Sony has a wide catalog of games. So a lot of gamers, especially casual gamers, will be interested in these titles. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I don't think that Microsoft is conceding cloud gaming. I think they'll be just fine, but I think they do need to react. Now, Sony offering 4K streaming, if it's a seamless experience, if it lowers the latency and the image quality is good, then I say it's a win. I'm going to see for myself, but I just think it's just not a viable option for a lot of gamers now, especially in the US. A lot of people don't have good bandwidth. Now, in Canada and other parts of the world, people have better bandwidth, so it may be a less of an issue for us. But I know in the US, this is a huge concern. Now, I'm going to link his article in the description down below so you guys can read it. He goes into detail. It's a pretty well-written article. He goes on to say that Sony calls Kronos the code name for its cloud gaming expansion plans, and Sony's looking to grow its cloud gaming footprint with 28 new data centers, which also aims to launch more broadly in the spring of next year. Sony is also exploring the handheld devices with remote play, its Project Q handheld. Now, that Project Q handheld, I don't know why they're offering that. You can do that on your tablet. You could do that on your phone. I really think that thing is DOA, especially when you're in your own house. Why would you want to stream it when you're in your own house? It makes no sense. Your PlayStation is right there. You can just plug it in and play. Now, if you have a phone, sure, and you're in a different room, it would make sense. But why would I spend $400 on a device like this to stream within my own house? And all I can do is stream PlayStation games on it. It doesn't play any native games, doesn't play any PC games, doesn't play anything else but PlayStation streamed games. So, my opinion, I'm just being honest with you guys, I think it's DOA. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I don't see fans being really excited about it. So in closing, I'm just going to say I think Microsoft is okay with the cloud gaming department. I think they need to ramp up the advertisement for Starfield. I think they need to focus more on their core gaming division, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to do this as soon as this deal closes. I know they've been using a lot of resources, and they're probably stretched and they're probably stressed out from this whole ABK merger thing, and once that settles, I do expect Microsoft to regroup and address all of these issues. But in the meantime, they really need to ramp up their marketing for Starfield, for their cloud service, and for Xbox Game Pass. I don't think it's a big deal that Game Pass is down to 14 days for a trial. I think that's a pretty long time still. We had 30 days for years. So it's not like they just brought this out and got rid of it. This was an option for a long time, and things change. And of course, when Microsoft is going to be purchasing Activision and putting their content in that service, you do expect things to change. And it's not the price. They raised the price by like $1 a year. So we're going to have all of these games in our Game Pass service. And the con is that you don't get a 30-day trial anymore. You get 14 days. So I think that's a pretty good trade-off. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about all this. What do you think about Starfield marketing? What do you think about Xbox? Do you think they really lost the console war? Do you think they can come back or at least make it a fair fight? Do you think that they'll lose cloud gaming to Sony? And what are your thoughts on Sony streaming 4K? Let me know all of this stuff in the comment section down below. And like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one.